All right, so at this time, I would like to welcome our two MCs for the evening, Julie Jensen and Jennifer Serna. Julie is currently a UX coach and is the author of the book Squawk to Improve Feedback. And then Jennifer Serna is currently a UX manager at the Home Depot in Houston and has been a freelancer for over a decade. So ladies, I'm going to turn it over to you and let you take it from here.
Thank you, Jasmine.
Thank you so much, Jasmine.
Yes, thank you. Okay, so welcome everybody. It's really nice to see some familiar faces and some brand new faces. So we've listened long enough, so we're going to give you a break and use the tool slider that we've been using from the beginning to do a quick poll. So if you just joined and you haven't seen it, check the chat and there's going to be a link there. We're going to post a new or updated link, so you can check it also on your phone. And go ahead over there and see what the slider is going to be.
This should be a pretty easy question if you haven't seen it. It's really, we're trying to get input from you all around which of those topics is really most important to you. And Gemma, if you're there, has anything changed, or is the freelancing kind of contracting topic number one still?
That's still definitely number one. That's at 42% at the moment, with the others down at like 20%.
Awesome. So I think we're gonna have a really lively conversation. We'll focus probably on that, but it sounds like there's a broad interest in other topics as well. So that's great. That makes for a great panel discussion. It'd be great if we could introduce our panel.
So before we meet our panelists, let's go over some ground rules for tonight. So we want to hear from you and what's on your mind. This panel is all assembled for you. And then also Slido provides you that forum to ask a question without worrying if you want to ask a question or if you want to ask a question associated without your name, it can be anonymous. So tonight, our panelists are Mike Monteiro, founder of Mule Design in San Antonio, and two panelists from Houston, Thomas Watkins, principal and founder of Freelancing Consulting, and Nia Jarrett, a UX researcher and contractor. And Julie, you have the rest?
And from San Antonio, we have Susan Price, the founder and CEO of Firecat Studio, two business partners who started CX by Design, Liz Hubert and Diana Sonis, and finally from Teksystems Digital Services and client partner Jacob Laubach. And you know what? I never figured out that I should have asked you all how to pronounce your names. So if I have muddied your names, please straighten me out. Thank you. Let's start with a question about tonight's program. How did you choose the role or the business that you currently are in? What went into your decision? We'll just get a quick round of results from there. So we'll start with you, Jacob.
Yeah. Honestly, so I didn't know much about design. I'm not necessarily a designer by trade or practice. I actually started as a recruiter. I fell in love with what designers do, though, by virtue of me being a recruiter in the field that I was in, and really just everything that folks in the UX world do. It fascinated me, right? It's what made me want to go more into the client management side. So I guess to answer the question of how I got to the role I'm in today, even though it's not necessarily design by trade, it's all thanks to working with designers, because that's what made me realize that there are other ways to help businesses to not just connect with talent, but also help talent to get the next opportunity that can push them along in their journey, right? Whether it's starting their own business, eventually starting their own agency, there's different stepping stones along the way. So that's kind of my answer for that.
Awesome. Thomas, what about you?
Yes, I am a design psychologist doing UX, and I was fortunate enough, lucky enough, to have gone to a human factors school 20 years ago. I was applying for programs to get into cognitive psychology programs. I got into one that was actually a human factors program, and that was the start of my career before UX was a gigantic, huge field. I was lucky to be exposed to that very, very early on. So coming out of psychology, graduate school, jumped out of my second degree early to get into designing software. I was qualified for research, but I started doing design because that's what the industry wanted more. So now my breadth of skills came from that.
Cool. How about you, Susan?
I'm an original web pioneer. I've been at this a long time and I've been through most of these roles. So this is a fascinating discussion for me. To get to Firecat Studio, I was in a digital design agency partnership, and partnerships can be like a marriage without sex. And I wanted to take the company in a different direction than my partner did, and ended up spinning off. We parted friends and we're still close, but I wanted to focus on UX and user research and consulting. And so we have made that jump, but the joke's on me. Now we're back to scaling up and designing websites and apps. I can't wait for this discussion. I'm looking forward to learning from everybody here.
Thank you, Susan. Nia, how about you? How'd you get into your current role of business?
Sure. So my journey into UX started because of the pandemic. Like everyone else, it was life changing. And so for me, I was really focused on how can I pivot into a career where, regardless economically or globally of what's happening, I will have skills that are in demand. So with that mindset, did a boot camp, really couldn't get a job. And so I learned how to find my own opportunities to build my experiences. And that's what I'm continuing to do now, even with this job market being extremely fierce. Freelancing for me is the best method in which I can still gain some relevant experience based on the current times.
It's funny how the pandemic has changed people's lives. How about you, Mike? What's your story?
How did I get into design?
Yeah.
I had bills to pay. I had bills to pay, and I had an art degree, which I got down there at the University of Texas at Austin, which is a shit school. But anyway, I had an art degree, and this was back. I mean, this was pre-web even, and I got a job at a copy shop in town. What was still called desktop publishing at the time, and I got my start like making business cards and laying out brochures and shit like that. And there's some here. I'll tell the Texas part of the story here, because I lived down there for 10 years, and I had it whenever I was making business cards for anybody. There were two icons that I would keep open in Illustrator all the time. One was the state of Texas. The other was a pair of Longhorns. And I don't care what you did. If you came in for business cards, you were getting one of those on your business cards, and people loved it. And they just, because everybody was Longhorn this, Longhorn that, Jimmy Bob's racist Longhorn roofing. And yeah, and from there, eventually the web showed up, and I started doing web design, and that was fun for a while. And then Nazis showed up, and it wasn't so much fun anymore. But yeah, that's my story.
And then I'll ask both Liz and Diana, since you co-share your company, how'd you guys both get started, in your roles and your businesses and so forth?
Yeah, I can start. Liz and I have been business partners for a little while now, and we never know which one speaks first. So it's whoever jumps in first. So for me personally, before I became a consultant, I'm originally from New York City. I went to NYU. And when I graduated, the letters NYU, we used to joke around, it stood for Now You're Unemployed. And I graduated with a journalism degree. I didn't want to, be in journalism. So of course I went to finance to work in hedge funds on Wall Street. And that was a little fun. That was fun for about 5 years or so, which is where I get most of my financial services expertise from, which is useful because we have a lot of clients who are financial services in our company now. But before I became a consultant, I was on the founding team of 2 tech startups back in New York. One we sold to Airbnb back in 2012, and then the other to a private equity firm. And really, I kind of fell into UX design. I had no idea that there was a discipline like that. I had no idea There was information architecture. I just thought it was all magic, you know, and somebody somewhere in some room just came up with the stuff and, you know, it went on the internet. But once I realized that there's such thing as product strategy and CX or customer experience and user experience design, as you know, as well as other things around that, I was like, well, this is great. And my, you know, my personal passion really is around figuring out how all of it works. So how do people, processes, and systems interact with one another? And really the psychology behind customer and user behavior, and kind of translating that information into products or services that help people live their best lives. This is really my driving force for what I do. But in terms of how CX by Design got started, so Liz and I, we've been partners for, I want to say about 5 years now. I think we started back in the beginning of 2018. And really, we don't even think of ourselves as, you know, UX designers or CX designers. We really think of ourselves as a management consulting company that advises businesses of all sizes and business units of all sizes on how to establish customer experience design, which often includes user experience design as well. And as a company, we primarily focus on CPG, e-commerce, retail type stuff for B2B and B2C, but also financial services and healthcare and wellness. And the reason we're not freelancers on our own and the reason we came together is because it's so much more fun to be working on a team, to bounce ideas off of each other, and just you know, makes us stronger. We have better insights and better end results for our clients. I'm sure Liz has tons to add to that. So.
Yeah, no, that was a wonderful intro as always. And another reason why it's great to have a business partner is you don't have to have your intro be as long and you don't have to speak as much, and they sound much more eloquent. But, you know, Diana and I fell into my UX story started in San Antonio. I accidentally got a job as an information architect because they weren't using UX at that time. And fast forward to today, and now I'm a founding partner of this wonderful business that we love. And I'll just add that the other part that's really intriguing both to Diana and myself, and hopefully some of you, is the idea that truly great businesses are profitable, not just because they sell a great product, but because they make their users and customers happy. And the things that we build we build them to make our lives better and to make other people's lives better. And so that's also a part of what's kept me in the UX business and the CX business.
Thank you so much. All right, well, okay, thank you so much for everyone for sharing your story. And now it's time to turn the focus onto some questions that you all might have today. So, well, let's start by fielding some questions about general category of getting started in UX. Since we've been curating your questions in Slido, we'll start with this first one. And it's curious, as a freelancer, how can I determine what to charge for a project? And I'm going to pass it over to, actually, I'll kind of open it up if there's somebody who wants to kind of speak on that, one of our panelists.
I mean, oh, Mike, go ahead. You actually did the right thing and raised your hand.
No, it's fine. Please, I can go after you.
Okay, all right. I'll make it quick. Mine was going to be a quippy kind of a short, like, well, what can the market bear, and charge as much as you can within that market. Because I think a lot of times what happens in a creative industry or industry like ours is you'll say, oh, so-and-so charges X an hour, so I'll charge it like that or a little bit less. But I think when you're thinking about just starting out freelancing and thinking about what to charge, I encourage you to do it the iterative way and try a lot of different prices and see how high you can get and also ensuring that you provide a value that matches that price.
Yeah, I mean, Liz was bang on there. Charge as much as you can, and what I'll add to that is, I mean, you mentioned the word value, and that's, I mean, value pricing is key. If I'm spending 10, I mean, don't charge for your time. Never charge for your time. That's a sucker's bet. Charge for what the client is going to get out of it. So if I make like say a logo for a local sandwich shop, I may be happy to just trade them for free sandwiches, but if I'm making a logo for like a large conglomerate and it takes me the same amount of time, I start thinking, how much money are they going to make off my labor? And I want a percentage of that.
Mhm.
So if they're thinking like this is $1 million project, then I got to decide, well, how much of that is rightfully mine? Because if somebody's earning off your labor, you should be earning off of it too.
This is so true. Liz and I actually went from, in our 5 years together as a business, we went from the trajectory of how much do we charge? How much is our time worth? How much is my hour worth? To exactly what Mike is saying, which is how much value am I bringing into this company with my labor? And I would shout this from the rooftops. I would encourage every single freelancer, every single person who is working with their time to think this way. Because if you think on an hourly basis, you will never make the money that you could make, because the person on the other side will never pay you what your time is worth, because your time is priceless. That hour you will never get back in your life. And so think about value pricing, because and it's interesting because it's not really the way the clients think, but it's your job to educate them. It is your job to educate them.
If you think about folks, I'm sure we all have stories about, well, I could just get someone on Fiverr to do it for $50 or whatever. It's like, knock yourself out.
Yeah.
It took me 30 years to get to where I am. You're paying for my 30 years of experience. Not, even if it took me 10 minutes, it took me 30 years to get to being able to do this quality in that time frame.
Exactly.
It's interesting. It sounds like you all are kind of willing to fire clients.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And resist the siren song of do it for your portfolio, do it for the exposure. All that is bullshit.
Yeah, I like the real talk on this group right now. This is great.
No, I definitely agree too. When I was fresh out the boot camp, even though I knew just the bare minimum, I never did a project for free. So I definitely agree. Even though the pay was low, I still knew enough to say, Nia, enough to bring value, and you should be financially compensated for these new skills you acquired. So I definitely agree with all of you on that.
Now you could also get smart, right, or strategic about it, and think about it this way. Well, if I don't know, Elon Musk comes to me and says, can you do this for me, for my portfolio? And I'll say, well, sir, I don't work for free, but we can kind of design a hybrid model where you can pay me maybe less than what I think I should be earning. However, you could also do XYZ for my business, and really come up with that kind of non-financial compensation, something that will market your business or get you more clients or piggyback off of his infamy or fame or whatever you want to call it. But there are hybrid ways to think about this. It's not all financial, but you always have to be compensated for your expertise, your experience, and your time.
I'm still stuck on the idea that you would work for Elon Musk.
He was just a fill-in. Pick anybody. Should we talk about Donald Trump? I don't know.
Wow.
And Trump? Do we? I don't know.
By the way, I'm following along here. Trump just got indicted again.
Yes. He's certainly not my Trump.
Well, to bring this back in, not to get too far off the rails. Thomas, what is your feedback on what to charge for projects?
Yeah, so I have a kind of complex view on this, so I'll try to make it simple. The way I think about this is I don't want to charge as much as possible. I want to make as much money as possible and have as much comfort as possible. Now, sometimes that might mean charging a lot. I'll charge more for a client if I think they're going to be a pain in the ass. If I, in the discovery meetings, get signs that they're going to be hard to work with, the price just went up. Otherwise, a lot of the way I run my business is on fractional hours. So I'm working with clients that I might be 10 hours per week, 20 hours per week, and other contributors on my team might be 20, 25. On the higher end might be 30, on the lowest end, 10 hours a week. And so what we try to do is find ways to work smart and deliver value and make it value oriented. So I'm very, very much with Mike on definitely not charging by the hour. Charging by the value, the project, the deliverable. But it's a tricky one when it comes to, so there's that on the charging. I was told, or I heard at one of the UXPA conferences a few years ago, you know that you have the right price when you say a price and they complain about it 3 times, but then ultimately say yes. That means you've got the right price.
There's no worse feeling than naming a price and having somebody immediately say yes. Because you know you just lost money.
Exactly.
You can always negotiate down, but you can never negotiate back up, ever.
All right, I am going to jump into another question that we have. So this one was upvoted in Slido, and we've got, what are the ways that I can gain more experience and build my portfolio? And I'm going to kick it over to Jake to start first, since he didn't speak up on the last one to kick things off.
Yeah, I think as far as build up, at least some of the ways that I've seen folks build up their portfolio, right? Especially when they're first starting out. And I might get some mud thrown at me after some of the answers from the last question, but I'm going to say it anyways, because I've actually seen it work for folks, especially as they're trying to build up their confidence. I've even seen folks who will find a like an organization or some sort of group that they're passionate about, right? I'll just give this example. I actually know somebody who went around to the different like animal shelters in San Antonio, around San Antonio. And, you know, I don't know if y'all have ever seen a lot of animal shelter websites, and they're not that great necessarily, right? But that's because a lot of them are doing it themselves. And this person went around and started asking them if they could start doing the websites for them. Now, they did do it for free at the beginning, so that's why I talk about the mud getting thrown at me. But it was because they also need to build up that confidence, right? And they learned quickly, like, I'm damn good at my job. I know what I'm doing. And they also got the experience of working with these individuals at these shelters as stakeholders. Is it the same as going to some big giant financial organization? No, not necessarily, but at least they're building up, right? They're having business conversation, what business value these designs are going to bring back to them. And then that got their foot in the door to be able to start actually taking that sort of work to bigger clients and bigger companies and have that confidence built up. So again, as a non-practitioner, somebody who hasn't had to do that myself, those are just some ways that I've seen folks be successful in the past.
Can I jump in?
Sure.
Yeah. Because I have absolutely no issue in working for free. And I think the example that Jacob used is excellent. I mean, if there's stuff in your community that could use your expertise and it improves your community, you know, #blessed, go do it, go help, like, go improve your community as much as possible. And yeah, you're getting some experience out of that, and that's fantastic. Don't work for free for VC-backed startups. They do not need it. But, you know, the local bakery, the pet shelter, you know, the civil services place around the corner, yes, absolutely, they need you. I love that example. One caveat that I will give there is, when you are working for free, it's sometimes very, very, very hard to get people's attention when you need it. Because when you're working for free, that's when you really have to watch your time. Like, so I'm willing to give this place 30 hours of free time. And if I'm just receiving free work, you know, I'll blow you off for something more important. So a thing that I do when I am working for free for people is I will invoice them, and I will let them know, like, here's what I charge for this. Here's the discount you're getting, which is 100%. but it gives people an idea of here's the value that you're getting right now. You should be paying attention to this. And I'll put a cap on hours.
I love both of those. You guys are obviously spot on. We made it to this panel for the same panel for good reason, but and another example that I've given to people who are just getting in the field. Maybe you don't have the time to give to a local organization, but we all know, every single one of us who has been bitten by this bug knows that there are problems in our day-to-day lives that could use some sort of UX help. And so as an example, when I was living in New York City, I was mentoring an individual who wanted UX portfolio pieces or CX portfolio pieces. She went to the subways and watched as people used the MetroCard machine or like asked them about it afterwards. And then she designed a better interface and she created a portfolio. Did the Metropolitan Transit Authority hire her, or did she work directly with them? No. And was she lacking that experience of direct client interaction? Sure. But she was able to put together a narrative around, here's how I would approach a project where I'm researching customer needs, I'm considering business needs, I'm bringing them together into some models and possibilities. And her ability to put that together and then talk through it served as a really great portfolio piece. So it could be anything. It could be the signs on your street. It could be the library, the way it's, I don't know, the desk clerk's C-score, green screen, I don't know. But it could be anything. It doesn't have to necessarily be for an organization.
I think it's really interesting. And I know that like 50% of the people that had responded were maybe not as interested in freelancing and entrepreneurism, but there is a question about what about the free work that you might be expected to do when you're interviewing for a job? What's your take on, the homework in order to apply or get a job at a company? How do you respond? What do you do? Do you just walk away from that job opportunity, or is there a tactical way to really accommodate that request if you're interested in the role?
Well, I mean, let me remind folks that no is a complete sentence. But what I would ask folks in that situation is, what are you hoping to learn from this that you haven't already learned during this interview process? I mean, the folks doing these interviews are talking to like 10 people a day. Everybody's going to do that stupid homework thing. And, half of those companies might end up using that free labor and you're not going to get anything out of that. But they're also going to forget you fairly quickly. If you're the person who stands up for that and challenges them and says, what are you hoping to learn here? Why do you do this? Why is this important to you? They will remember you. And as long as everybody keeps doing that, they're going to keep giving it out. So break it.
And you're taking yourself out of the running for those roles often, but you might be saying no to an employer that would make you miserable.
Yeah, if I'm interviewing at a toxic place, I would love to find out during the interview rather than 4 weeks in.
It's also quite disrespectful for somebody to ask you for that much of your time for free, number one, and during the interview, number two. I think that, to Mike's point, it is a sign of toxicity. Maybe not all the time, but sure. The other thing is that it just depends on how much time is it going to take you, because there are a lot of interviews and there are a lot of kind of initial interactions where people do want to see how you do the work. Now, if you can time cap it to, I don't know, 30 minutes, an hour, if you have to spend several days doing something, or even a day doing something, even 4 hours doing something, it's way too much. Even Google, I as a freelancer, I had interviewed at Google, not for a position, but to be a freelancer at Google years ago. And nobody made me do hours of free work. I had to be on Zoom with them, walking them through my process. They gave me problems to solve real time. Sure, that I understand. you know, nobody's going to make you do hours of work if it's a great place.
It brings up a,
Definitely
yeah, thank
plus
you, Diana.
one to that. Oh, can y'all hear me?
Yes, Nia.
Okay, I was gonna say definitely plus one to what Diana said. For the role that I previously held, that was for a year. I think for the second round of interviewing, they asked me to do work, but even in the instructions, it was like, don't work on this for more than 15 minutes. And so I respected that because they do know that my time is valuable, and I felt like it wasn't manipulative because they weren't asking me to do 12 plus hours of work on something, and I don't even know what they're going to do with the document after. Are they going to keep it? Are they going to shred it? I don't know.
I think we're going to start a poll. So there's going to be a poll running in the background. So you can look at the poll there. But I have a question in terms of how do you all stand out if when a person is interviewing for a job? I think part of the reason they're given homework is to see if they can stand out. And as freelancers, how do you stand out if there's a lot of competition for the work that you're doing?
Well, I think like I have a very, very quick and short answer. And I'm sure other people have better answers, but what Mike said really, really resonates because if you are able to ask, not talk back, not be disrespectful, but ask smart questions. Why am I doing this? What is the purpose of this? I think that a lot of people, when they get this type of homework or they get some sort of assignment, they don't ask questions. They just jump to it like bunnies, like, okay, I'm going to do this. Okay, you know, but asking questions, why? Because your whole job as a UX designer, and especially as a UX researcher, is to ask why. So start the job in the interviewing process.
Mm-hmm.
I've actually had a funny thing. I've actually had someone who actually works for me now completely tear apart my question, which I am glad she did. It's one of the reasons I really liked her. And she completely, she's like, well, I want to know why you prompted this. So, and then just spent like 2 slides in a quick, like, you know, design challenge of like ripping apart my prompt, which I appreciated.
Mm-hmm.
I actually was going to talk. I agree, of course, with Diana. And I also saw, Susan, you put storytelling. That was exactly what I was just about to say. So once again, we're on the same page. We're really owning your story as a value creator, as a UX person, or as a designer, or as a researcher, whoever you want to be, and being able to understand yourself and your work enables you to then put it into a narrative that differentiates you, because all of our work, quote unquote, like the actual work, is the same. It's us that put a different spin on the work. And if you have the ability to put a story around that is compelling and engaging, you're going to stand out.
I will add one more thing, because Liz and I have bumped up against this quite a few times, is that when I first started out in UX design, I had this insecurity because I didn't come from the design world. I didn't come from any HCI program. I wasn't a developer or a graphic designer, and I thought that it seemed to me like everybody came from kind of this, you know, these disciplines or educational backgrounds. I was a business person. I was a numbers person. I was a business person. And over time, what I realized, what made me stand out is being a business person. There are not a lot of UX designers or researchers or CX people who also understand business. And if you're going to work for a business, you better make sure you understand how business works, how their industry works, and just how all the, you know, processes, systems, and people work in the business. So I would say that's another thing that really would make you stand out.
To echo what a couple of people have already said, be yourself. Just be like the most unapologetic, authentic person that you can be, because that's either going to resonate with the people who are hiring you, or it's not. And if it's not, then fantastic. Let's find out now. But I want to know that I'm hiring somebody who has a point of view and somebody who has opinions. and somebody who's willing to tell me that. If I'm, if I'm like running a Fortune 500 company, I'm surrounded by yes people. And here, I'll tell you that I'll just cut to the chase and tell you the dirty secret. Every CEO in America has a humiliation fetish, and they will all pay big money to the person who's willing to call them on their bullshit. So be the person who's willing to call them on their bullshit, because that is incredibly new and exciting to them. All day long, they're surrounded by people who are like, yes, boss, no, boss, of course, boss. So when you show up and you're like, Bob, that is a stupid idea, and it's going to lose you money. All of a sudden, they're like, oh, holy shit, that's exciting. I've never had that, but no one's ever talked to me that way. How much can I pay you? And you're like, you can't pay me enough. I'm not even kidding. I am not even kidding with this shit.
We actually, Liz and I have actually said that to people. You cannot pay us enough.
100%.
Because if I answer that question, then I can run your company.
Did they come back?
Sure, absolutely.
Oh,
We expect you much,
they
much
always come
more.
back.
Absolutely.
They always come back.
They
Always.
always come back.
We have had I wanted to ask a quick follow-up to on this topic that we were talking, and I think this is great for people, especially really trying to get into things. It got brought up about from Diana, how to get more business experience. And when you're younger in your career, that can be something that, can be a struggle, especially for more creative design types, right? So what is some quick advice of like, what are some quick ways to start building that knowledge if you're not at an actual corporate job and you can't actually learn off other people doing those things? What are some some things you guys suggest?
If you are a freelancer on your own and you want to build up business experience, well, I would sit down with myself and ask myself, what kind of business experience, right? What are you interested in? Because ultimately, are you interested in small business, in startups, in small to medium-sized business, in corporations? So identify what type of business you're interested in, identify what industry you're interested in, or a couple of industries you're interested in, and start asking why. Find people on LinkedIn, send them a sentence. You don't need to write paragraphs, send them a sentence and say, hey, look, I'm interested in health and wellness as an industry. I'm really curious about how your business works. Would you have 15 minutes, in the next couple of weeks to talk to me about this, and become a UX researcher. You are researchers and hone that skill, and you learn by conversation. And then you figure out, okay, well, like for Liz and I, I'll give you an example. For Liz and I, we are coffee, I don't know what to call us, Liz, fanatics, I don't know. Our dream-
We have a problem.
We have a problem. Our dream client, our dream industry is to have a couple of companies who either do something with coffee. So we can get a lifetime free supply of beans that we can, drink every day. So for me, that's a passion industry. If I can figure out how business works, the whole supply chain, I want to know how beans get dehydrated, et cetera, all of it. Ask questions. There's so many people, especially now on LinkedIn, your friends, your parents' friends, I don't know. There's so many people to ask questions. Become a UX researcher.
Mike alluded to it earlier that you should be yourself. And the more you can lean into your own passions, your own interests, there is more energy there that will attract people like you and who resonate with you. I've had that proven to me over and over. I would have some kind of tempting client opportunity that sounded like a big brand and I really wanted it for my portfolio, and I would ignore the red flags or the yellow flags along the way. And I have learned to lean into, I have a do-gooder streak. I have a let's all, make the world a better place streak. And I've ended up in civic design, and I'm having more success than I've ever had because I leaned into that.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a personal example of my own. Like I was on the board of this the commercial real estate franchise company. Gosh, I know nothing about commercial real estate franchise anything. and I, I was asked to be on this board, and I said, okay, why not? Because I wanted board experience, right? And so I'm sitting in these meetings. I have no idea what anybody's talking about. I don't know the lingo. And for me to ramp up, I had to ask a lot of questions and be willing to look not as expert as I wanted to look, be a newbie. And that's, that kind of served me well, always.
Yeah, it's a great piece of advice. And along with that, it's such a cliche term that I want to add to all what everybody said, which is, I think the biggest lesson in my career about business, like my on the job business, was following the money. And what I mean to say is like really understanding, like, projects don't just happen. There is a person in a company out of whose budget they are billing UX designer hours and developer hours and business analyst hours. And once I understood the system of how that came to be in the company I was in, I could extrapolate that to other examples, and that has helped a lot. And so if you are somebody who you're not in a corporate, position, you're not able to, you don't yet have a job, maybe you just out of college, do you understand how the money moves throughout a college? Do you understand that at the university level, professors are getting grants to supplement their income, and that half of that grant money goes back to the university? So if I get $1 million grant, $500,000 goes back to the university. That's interesting. That's something I didn't know about business. And that's access that I could go around and ask my professors, how do the finances work at this university? And so just really following how money is exchanged in any business is another great way to, again, Diana said it, use your UX researcher skill set that you want to curate to really understand at what level is that happening.
That's great, Liz. Okay, I'm going to kick it over and ask Julie. Let's take a look at what our poll says.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. So the question was, which role do you aspire to? And it looks like we've got 38 respondents, or 38% are saying employee, want to be an employee. Something else is 25%. Oh, and it's changing right before our eyes. Agency, owner, or partner, 17%, freelancer, 11%, contractor, about 11% as well. And it continued to kind of move through the conversation. It's kind of interesting to me that we've got, I don't know if y'all are scaring people that they don't want to be, an agency owner or partner, or if that's moving up a little bit too. So, and we see people in the chat saying when they grow up, they want to be Mike, or at least one person said that.
No.
Mike's already taken, right?
Well, I mean, where's retired on that list? Because that's my goal.
That is also my goal. One day.
One day we will all be retired.
Hey, it was curious to see the shift. It was curious to see when I was taking a look at it, that it was at the time with a screenshot. I don't know, Gemma, do you want to share it real quick as it's going live? I realize I don't see the live view. I see the other view. Wait for it to pop up.
Should be loading now.
So yeah, like Julie was saying, like I was curious. I was like, oh, there's a lot of people that actually are aspiring to be employees, and maybe, I'm curious, is that because of, the market right now? Is it because of just job security or just other things? It's just kind of hard to find freelance work. But if you want to throw up, your kind of thoughts in the chat and things like that, and we can talk more about that.
Well,
oh yeah, other people are saying things about like benefits and security and so forth.
I laugh at the security one. I always chuckle because that's how I became a consultant, is I got laid off and they told me you had 30 minutes to get out. And I thought, wow, I thought this was a secure place, but apparently the CEO was messing around with the money at that place. So, and it's a multinational corporation that you all would know. That's not to scare anybody away from being an employee, by the way, but I do chuckle at it sometimes.
It's interesting that you all have had your organizations for quite a while. It sounds like some of you've gone through some of the previous recessions and stuff. Do you think that what are the tactics that maybe you use to get through some of those harder times?
I'll start that one. I had a model where we used contractors so that if projects dried up or got tighter, we could scale down without firing anybody. That got us through some tough times. In 2008, 2009 was pretty lean, and we were able to scale back and then swell up and then, you know, ride the waves that way. How about the rest of you?
I mean, we started our company back in 2001. That's right. And you know, and it is here in San Francisco, and times are pretty lean. Like it was the end of the first bubble, if anybody remembers that. And I remember 2008, 2009, there was another big dip. I personally love the lean times because it's what we know. It's what we grew up in lean times. We learned how to scrounge for work. And what we found is that when times fatten up, stupid comes out. And all of a sudden there's too much money and too many people have stupid ideas and too many people are giving them money for those stupid ideas. And in lean times, you get people who actually show up with needs. And it's stuff that we actually want to work for. And it's stuff like, well, we have to do this because we have a real business. We have real customers. And that stuff makes me much more comfortable to work with. I also want to challenge this idea that we're in a recession right now, because I just, according to numbers I saw this morning, billionaires pulled in like $47 trillion over the last 3 years. We don't have a lack of work. We don't have a lack of money. What we have is too much greed. And when I see that folks are like, I want to go work, I want to be an employee because, you know, it's security. And I totally understand that. But I think we need to take a look at what folks, at the answers that people are giving in the chat right now. Oh, benefits. Like the only way I can have, or the easiest way for me to have health insurance is in this country is by attaching myself to a corporation. And then I am at the whims of that corporation to keep that health insurance. So, you know, screw me if I should have some kids who actually have health issues. And then, as many of you know, you leave school and you're like 100 grand to 200 grand in debt. And, you know, if, you know, Facebook shows up and says we can help you pay down that debt, all you have to do is everything we ask you to do without questioning. And you're looking at a bill that says you owe, you know, this bank 200 grand, you're going to fucking take that job. You'd be an idiot not to. So I mean, systemically,
it sounds like there's just a survival mechanism. I think we get more questions.
Oh, stop ranting about the political shit.
We're gonna slowly bring you back in, Mike.
But this is the issue.
Though.
This is central to the issue. Why do we work like we work? Because we're stuck in these systems of toxicity and oppression. And I mean, we can not talk about them and, you know, keep saving these problems for, you know, the next generation up, or we can talk about them and actually do something.
Okay, I'm gonna jump over real quick and ask, just so maybe just refresh the Slido to see, so we can get to some more questions, and then we're gonna pause and take a group photo. Okay, so we've got right here. I'm going to ask, how do you stay updated with the latest trends and best practices in UX? Are there any books, websites, communities that you guys would recommend for continuous learning? And I'm going to pass it over to see if Jake or Thomas, I haven't heard from you guys as much on the last few questions. Do you guys have any things to kind of kick off that question?
So I don't necessarily have any books that come to mind, but just as far as resources, I mean, I think I hate saying this because I feel like I say this especially to like some of the newer folks at our company a lot is, you know, there's a free thing called Google, And yeah, maybe you'll hit a paywall, but there's plenty of other articles and plenty of other places. I mean, it kind of goes back to, I forget who said it earlier about putting on your UX researcher hat, but, you know, do some research into the trends, right? Ask people questions, reach out to individuals on LinkedIn, right? I mean, there's a lot of just resources out there. I think that a lot of times people don't lean into the resourcefulness to be able to find those resources. I mean, I myself, again, I feel like I keep saying it over and over. I'm not a designer like a lot of almost everyone on this call is, right? But I had to educate myself on the different types of trends. And I just do that by being intellectually curious and constantly Googling and searching and asking questions of the people like y'all, like every panelist on this call. Like I would love to have a sit down with each and every one of y'all and learn what y'all think of the newest trends and what really stands out. I'll stop rambling so Thomas can answer.
Yeah, no, I want to agree with you, Jacob. And then I want to add two things. That the core should always be about making your skills and your expertise better. And I want to return to that a couple of times. So the direct answer to this question, I think some of the things that Jacob mentioned, as well as I find that if I'm working with companies that are actually innovating, okay, that puts me in a position where I'm working with a development team that's using recent, cutting edge technologies. The designers are finding the new ways to do work. If you've got a client or you're working for a company that's actually trying to innovate. But I want to go to this, get obsessed with increasing your skills. That's kind of the core answer to a lot of these questions that how to get business experience or the approach to getting business experience. Be obsessed with, I want to make myself better. I want to get really, really nice at what I do and whatever it is I'm interested in. Getting through hard times, raising your skills, finding work. The key to that being, if I'm doing something free, I guess, I think it should always be at least for equity. I mean, flat out free is that's a little bit, I don't even think that's legal technically. Like a lot of internships are like technically not really legal, but you want to make sure that you're in a position where you're making your skills and your expertise bigger and bigger and bigger, because that's what's ultimately going to give you leverage to get into some of these kinds of comfortable situations later in your career. You need the ability to have people realize that you're the expert and that they kind of have to listen to you, or the ability to say no and to be confident in that, or the ability to say a price and then grimace 3 times but then say yes, right? That comes from that intrinsic value of you being obsessed with getting really good at what you do and having a lot of pride in your craft.
Thank you, Thomas. Okay, we're gonna take a quick photo, but before I do that, would any other panelists have any other great resources? Or, and I've seen Susan's been posting stuff in the chat. Feel free to, if there's some great things there, if you want to post that there. But if not, okay, I'm now going to ask that we're going to take a quick screenshot of everybody. So if kind of like a group picture. So if you would like to, you can turn on your video. It's optional, of course. So we can see your face. And then if you can just leave on your name and on your picture and so forth, or update it to whatever you prefer, we'll go ahead and do that. So I'm going to ask which one of our team is going to take that, unless I need to take it, but I'm on my phone monitor.
Yeah, I can take them, but we need to do 2 of them. So
I will let you count that down then.
Okay, everybody.
Hold your smiles.
Yeah. All right. 1, 2, 3. Wait, didn't work. Okay, there's that one. All right, there's one. And then that's over on that will take 2 and just just a sec. Trying to get this one. I don't know.
Bad hair is welcome. You don't have
Yeah.
it's okay. Phone fine.
Okay. All right, now we're going for the second one. All right. 1, 2, 3. Okay.
Thank you,
All
Julie.
right. Thanks.
Okay, Julie, what do we got next?
So really, I think we're almost wrapping up, and that we do have a poll out there that we would love for you all to take as well. What are the feelings that you associate with a career in user experience? Is the poll that's in Slido right now. And I think for the panelists, I think it'd be interesting to maybe hear, if you had to do it all over again, would you go into user experience, or would you choose a different career?
I can go
Me?
first. Or somebody else. I don't know who said something, but you can go ahead. Is it Nia?
Oh, thank
Go ahead,
Yes.
Diane. Oh, go ahead, Nia.
Okay. For me, I would definitely do research. Just thinking back to my previous career, I came in through public relations, and so those skills that I gained are transferred, being empathetic. Definitely broke now, and so I change this for anything. I like being the person that can confidently know if someone, based on your research, if we go against it, we'll be okay. This is research based. These are things. If what I'm sharing, go ahead with your most facing. And I like that I can say that. It's that.
Nia, you're cutting in a little bit in and out, but I think we got most of that.
How about you, Diane?
I would say, would I go straight into UX, a career in UX or design? No, absolutely not. What I would study though is, and I love what I do. What I would study 3 things. I would study psychology, business, and communications. If you can become a semi knowledgeable person in those 3 things, you can do UX design, you can do customer experience design, you can work for somebody, you can be a freelancer. Because if you wanna start an agency or be a freelancer, you need to know not how to do just UX design. You can hire people for that. You need to know how to grow a business, because now you're in business. Even if you're a freelancer, you're a business of one. So, and then on top of that, you need to understand the business that is your client, right? And so understanding how money moves, as Liz said, is extremely important, and how businesses are set up and run. I would say being able to communicate and sell, not just yourself, but your work, your story, whether it's for your portfolio or to a client, your service, or at a job interview, but being able to be compelling and communicate and listen, and actively listen to what people are telling you. That is a skill that I think needs to be honed for many, many different life and work reasons. And then everything else, all the trends and everything we're talking about, ChatGPT, this and AI, these are all tools of the trade that are so learnable very, very quickly. And they change all the time, and that's not what's important. But understanding businesses and understanding how to communicate is extremely important, and understanding psychology and how people relate to one another, and how people relate to the brand and the business is extremely important. So those 3 things I would say I would go into first, or try to somehow study first. And then the UX stuff is just the icing on the cake.
Awesome. How about you, Thomas? Would you go back into UX if you had to do it all over again?
Hell yeah, I love what I do.
Nice short answer. How about you, Susan?
I think I would try something different. I'm planning to come back as a filmmaker.
That's great. How about you, Jake?
Prob- if I could change anything, it would probably just be learning UX, learning like the principles of design and what goes into it. I don't know that I would necessarily change the role that I'm in, but I feel like I would have been able to apply some of those principles to what I do today. And I mean, I feel like I have, but I just wish I had done that much sooner. I was environmental biology, like in school, for example, environmental biology. I'm not doing anything with that today, right? Like it's meaningless. But I wish I could go back and relearn or learn different skills than what I had started learning to set myself up quicker.
Awesome. How about you, Liz?
I think for me, I would take my business partner's advice, because as Susan mentioned, it's like a marriage and you just got to go there. No, but seriously, I probably would end up in a field related to customer experience or user experience, because I love business and I love technology and I love people. And my personal life mission and huge part of our business mission is to make technology make human lives better, not for humans to bow down to technology. And in all of that, so yeah, I would probably end up in a similar field, but what I would do differently is I would double down on my business skills. I would have taken like negotiation 101, 102, 103. I would have taken more risks and failed more, and talked, as we all talked about earlier, like learn from other successful business people more. And that's what we're now actively on the path of doing as a business. But I think leaning more into that, because understanding that as much as some people on the call, I'm not going to name them, but you might know who they are, hate capitalism. Just saying, maybe. I don't know that for sure, but no, I'm just kidding. I'm not saying I'm a fan either, but it is our culture is commerce. It is why we're all here. It's what we're all here to do. It's all what we're using our skill set to do. And so I think having a better understanding, a better and deeper understanding of that from the get up would have been, it would have altered my path.
Cool. Thank you. Mike.
If I could hit rewind and do this again, I think the list that Diana gave was excellent. Learning psychology, business, and communication. All of those are incredibly important to this field. To that list, I would add ethics. If I were doing a do-over, no, I'd learn woodworking so I could make guillotines.
I love that. Lovely.
You're welcome.
Oh, but what about the metal part?
Well, I mean, I'd befriend a metal worker.
That's fair. Good.
You got to build a team, Liz. You got to build a team.
I know.
Collaboration.
Community
Collaboration.
is important.
No, it's true. Business partnerships. Maybe there's some trade there. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that communication skills to whip up your mob.
Easy.
It is all too easy, is it not, Mike?
So
We should do a poll and see where everybody here was on January 6th.
okay, so we don't have any more polls, but I do want everyone to, while we wrap up with our last question with our panelists, and this has been a really great conversation. I've personally really enjoyed hearing all this really great feedback from everybody. But we, if you want to continue asking your questions in Slido, let's go ahead and keep doing that. And we're going to share them to both organizations. So we'll post them on our Slack channels or wherever is appropriate for responses and things like that. But we are going to end though with some final words of wisdom and advice from each of our panelists. So this time, I would like Nia, are you, let's see, Mike, check you a bit, but and what is your wisdom or words of advice if you're not cutting in and out, and if not, we can come back.
Okay, can you all hear me really well now?
Yes, we can. Perfect.
My words of wisdom: be yourself. This for getting the job is really So just understand that it's not just you, and give yourself grace. You know, it might not be the time in terms of getting your next, but you are going to get the folks that are really to what you're passionate about. So don't explain yourself. Of how looking for role, what doesn't seem to be working now, being creative, pivoting, really leaning, working, virtual and in person.
Awesome. Thank you, Nia. Okay, I'm gonna hand it over to Jake.
I would say just always remain intellectually curious, right? I loved the example earlier. I'm forgetting who said it, but just being obsessive about your craft, being obsessive about becoming, I think saying the best is great, but just being better every day at the craft that you do. The other one I'd say is be iterative, right? Liz said that at the very beginning of this on one of the questions, but be iterative and be willing to take some shots, be willing to get shot down. And that's okay, right? Especially as you're starting off in your career, or if you started your own business and your own agency, it's going to happen. And just kind of embrace the suck on that, because you're going to get shot down. You're going to get told no, and you're going to tell people no eventually, because you're going to get to that point. But take shots and then be iterative and learn from those shots.
That's great, Jake. And actually, I'll pass it over to Susan, because I think Susan, you're the one that we're really getting to honing, getting passionate. Is that correct?
Passion for sure. Follow your passions, but also don't be afraid to go in and out. I've made a nice career, sometimes coming in out of the cold and working for a company and getting a whole nother skill set, and then getting tired of the constraints within a large enterprise and coming back out to agency ownership again. So that, we used to be told that you shouldn't change jobs so much, and it would look bad on your resume or to employers, and that has proved to be false. But that movement, if you're not happy where you are, move faster away from being unhappy. There's nothing that will hurt you more than to stay somewhere that's sucking your soul. Get whatever you need to do to get out. It's a very forgiving environment, and our skills are more important than ever before. That has only been increasing my whole career, and we're in a perfect position to take advantage of it. So don't let fear keep you trapped.
Awesome. Thank you, Susan. What about you, Diana?
Yeah, Susan took a part of my answer, but I would say that most people are afraid. We are all afraid of something every single day. I'll speak for myself. Every single day I'm afraid of something. And to learn to go through the fear, because there's no other way. You can't go around it. You got to go through it and use that as fuel to learn and to stay curious, and you will fail. It's a given. It's not an if, it's a when. Fail faster. Learn the lessons. I don't know if this quote is attributed to Einstein all the time, but the definition of insanity is to do the same thing over and over again and get the same result or something like that. Anyway,
expecting the same result.
And so the point is that learn and get the lessons, but don't stop because you're afraid. Contact that person that you think won't respond. Contact that successful person that you want to learn from. Sometimes they won't respond, but sometimes they will. I can tell you that I have switched industries, careers multiple times without any education at all, only because I said, this is what I wanted to do. And then it took a little ramp up time on my own. And then you find a way. You will always find a way.
Thank you, Diana. What about you, Liz?
I think it's interesting to hear the responses because we're all centering around a lot of the same thing, which I saw somebody's point in the chat where one of the reasons to be an employee is to get a confirmation that you're doing it right. And I saw the response that there is no doing it right, or something like there is no right way. And I'm sorry if I'm misquoting anybody's chats, but I think that's the most important thing to take away is there is no right way, there's just your way. And that seems to be the founding, like the central theme of what we're all saying. And to really have pride in yourself, make yourself the best you can be, and then work your way through your passions.
Thank you, Liz. Okay, I'm going to jump to Thomas and then we'll wrap up wisdom with Mike.
Skills, skills, skills. Everything comes from that. Make yourself better. Become obsessed with making yourself better. Do you want to have a better resume? A lot easier to do when you've got skills. Do you want to be able to say no to the CEO humiliation fetishists? It's a lot easier to do that when you're valued for your skills. Find the places where the things that you like to do match up with the things that the market likes to pay for. Find that link and double down on getting good and believe in yourself.
Thank you, Thomas. You're such a motivational speaker, and I've heard you speak before. All right, I'm gonna we'll wrap up our last words of wisdom with Mike, who I've seen should be Mike for president on our chats and so forth. So
Dear
our
God, no.
age
Stop.
of wisdom.
Um,
But take us home, Mike, and then we'll wrap up and pass it back to Julie and Jasmine.
Look, the most confident words that can ever come out of your mouth are "I don't know," and it's the first step to learning something new. When I was young, I thought I had to pretend I knew everything, and I lost out on so many opportunities because of that. So many opportunities to learn something. And as you've gotten older, you don't get any smarter when you get older. What you get, hopefully, fingers crossed, is you get more comfortable with the idea that you're actually an idiot. And you get more comfortable with the idea of saying, "Oh, I don't know about that. Tell me more about that." And I mean, several people have already touched on this, but curiosity is the path to so many things. And especially the things that might make you feel initially uncomfortable. That's growth. That's the beginning of growth. If something uncomfortable is in front of you, walk towards it. And find out what that's about, because there's going to be so many amazing things there. So get comfortable with the idea that there's so much more about the world that you don't know than you do know, and just be willing to walk into places where you might be an idiot walking in and a little bit smarter walking out. My goal every day is to go to sleep a little bit smarter than I woke up. And that means that I need to be able to say to people, "I don't know about that. Please tell me," or Google it or whatever.
That's really great advice, Mike. Thank you. Okay, I'm going to pass it over to Julie for our kind of wrap up, and then stay tuned because Jasmine will close us out with some fun stuff.
Thank you all so much. I think this was a bit of inspiration, a bit of humor, some great advice, some vulnerable answers too. So that's always great to hear, like a panelist, a group of panelists who are so willing to be truthful and honest. So thank you all so much.
And so passionate.
And passionate, exactly.
I almost want to freelance again.
Yeah, really.
Y'all gotten the bug back in me.
That fluidity, that opportunity there, it's awesome. Gemma, do we have the word cloud from the poll that we can share?
Yep, it's loading.
If it comes up, if whoever sees it, there we go. So what are some feelings that you associate with your career in UX? Human, data, interface, awesome. Things that just really stand out there. I found my people. Love that. That's awesome. Gratification, life-changing. This is really great. Thank you all so much. The panelists and the attendees who participated in this added some great questions as well. And Jasmine, I'm pushing it back to you for our final announcements. And I think there's an award to be had as well. Thank you all so much.
And thank you, Julie.
Yes, yes. There is a prize at the end, so you have to be here live to get it. So stick around if you curious about that. But yes, thank you, Jennifer, Julie, all of our panelists. Like they've already said, I'm just a parent now, but this was really great. I was taking my own notes. Thank you all again. This was awesome. But if we want to go ahead and share the slides, I can tell you about our next few events. Because we love like just doing panels, socials. And so for Hexagon, we are having a monthly social. Usually these are virtual, but we're doing it in person in July because why the heck not? So it will be, if you're familiar with the Houston area, it'll be at the Kirby Ice House location at near the Memorial City on Saturday, July 15th. You can already find it on our meetup page. If you scan that QR code there, it will take you there. And then I will pass it over to Sherry to talk about their next event. And then in the chat, I will also be posting a link to our feedback survey. We would love to hear your thoughts on everything. Thank you all again. Sherry?
Thanks, Jasmine. Thanks, everybody. This is so inspiring. So yeah, our next event is a little bit different than our normal presentation. We have an AI design jam. We're going to be sandboxing with AI, and that means everybody gets to learn how to work AI and get some examples of prompts and things like that, and get in there and work on it. So it's going to be a 2-hour event. We right now are going to have it virtually, but we're also thinking this might be a good opportunity to branch off a little bit and do some hybrid stuff, so in person. But we'll see as we get closer to that. But it is on July 13th. So if you're in San Antonio area, you can do that. If not, you can join us on virtually on Zoom, and that's on our meetup page as well. So. All right, so now we are doing the door prize, and I wanted to share. Here is the list. So if your name should be in alphabetical order by first name on the right side. If there's anybody who does not want to be in the drawing, I did not put the panelists on here. I'm trying to get all the people who signed up a good chance. And if you don't want to be on the list, let me know. I can remove you.
We're not seeing the list.
I'm sorry?
Am I looking in the wrong place? I'm not seeing the list.
Oh, am I not sharing it correctly? Sorry. There we go. There we go. All right. So let me see. I'm trying to make the list larger. Does everybody see it?
Yes.
Yes.
Is there anybody who doesn't want to be on the list? Because the prize is $25 gift card to Amazon, or we really encourage you to check out Rosenfeld Media, because you can get a UX book from there. So, all right. So no changes. Nobody's good. All right.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just letting you know it's all good.
Okay, let's go. All right, so let's spin. See who wins. Sarah. Sarah is still here?
Yay, I'm here, yes.
Yes. Oh, awesome. Awesome. All right, if you can just send us the email that you want us to put on that in a private chat to me. Put that in the chat thing for private and an email, and we will get that to you. All right.
Great, thank you.
Hey, Sherry, spin it one more time.
Oh, okay.
So Mike has donated part of the proceeds for his book, Design as a Job, which really talks about everything that we've talked about tonight. To what is the organization? Translifeline.org.
Yeah, if I may, Bob.
Sure, go for it.
For the month of June, I'm donating 50% of my royalties from the sale of that book, and I'll drop it in the chat in a second, to Trans Lifeline.
So I bought a book from him this month and I'm going to give it away. So spin it one more time.
All right, thank you.
And
Crystal.
Oh my God.
Yay.
Yay, but I won last time, so you can spin it again. Give someone else a chance.
Okay.
I didn't
Yeah,
think
you
I
won
was-
last month. Yeah, you did, didn't you? You're a lucky person. You taking you to the lottery. Hey, Leah Sullivan. Wow. You
Oh,
still
yes,
with
that's
us?
me. I am,
Yay!
yeah.
All right. So same with you. If you send an email, we'll get Bob in touch with you so he can mail that to you. Okay.
awesome.
Okay, perfect. So
Okay,
who do I,
thank
sorry,
you.
who do I
Thanks.
send that to?
Bob
Thanks for doing
Hotard.
that, Bob.
Yep.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
thank
Okay.
you.
Sure.
All right. All right. Okay. And Jasmine, do we want to share the survey?
Yes, I put that in the chat.
Okay,
We
great.
can also share the slide with our links once again, in case anyone missed that or wanted to make sure they had the correct links to
Oh,
where
sure.
to find us. But other than that, yeah, just thank you all once again. Hope to see you all at our next events. You'll also catch me at UXSA, so I look forward to seeing you all over there too.
All right. Thank you all so much. So much.
you,
This was
everyone.
so awesome.
Thank
Thanks,
you. Bye,
everyone.
everyone.
Thank
Bye,
you.
everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, y'all.
You did it, Julie. We got out by 8, so I'm buying shots or coffee.
I don't know. Yeah, shots of coffee, maybe.
Not you catching that in the recording.
That's fine. I'll have to mail gift cards.
We can edit.
We'll have to,
That was
we'll have to meet.
awesome.
We'll meet Houston people in Columbus and
Yeah, we'll meet halfway, like what, I mean,
at that
Fredericksburg's
one
not halfway, is
restaurant on
it?
You go to the Shiner.
Man, I'll tell you what, like an idiot, ran a half marathon in Shiner. I didn't realize how hilly it was there.
Oh, no.
It's so hilly. I didn't even want the Shiner when I was done. I was like, I'm done. This was really great. This was such a great talk tonight. I thought that was
Yes,
so well. Such great conversation.
it did.
And we did wrap up on time, which I'm so proud of.
did great. Y'all did great.
Yeah. And I just figured out that spotlight thing at the very last minute. And I'm hoping that helped for everybody.
Oh,
to be
I
able
think it
to
went great.
Did.
see if
Yeah.
he was talking.
Great.
He's trying to keep a.
I think some of it too is how you have your, if you're using gallery or if you're not using gallery, but it helps if you have that spotlight, especially when we had so many.
Yeah.
panelists.
Cool. Well, now we know how to do it. This is fun.